Well, it's a new year, and that means new possibilities for all of us.
And every year people make resolutions for the new year, but they just don't seem to follow through. So on CommUNITY, we hope to inspire you to follow through. I'm Claudine Ewing.
And I'm Pete Gallivan. Today we are taking you inside the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center, a place that celebrates new starts for so many enslaved people.
And that's what a new year is all about. We're going to go back into the past a little later in the show.
Just one step, freedom.
How sweet that is.
Yeah, no kidding. We are here at the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad Heritage Center, and the last stop is the Freedom Gallery. And it really kind of knocks home the idea that freedom isn't just this big concept, it's about people.
You know, look at some of the signs. Let us not drink from the cup of hatred to satisfy our thirst for freedom. Yeah. That says a lot.
Oh, without a doubt. And you know who else says a lot? This guy.
Saladin Allah. Let's go meet him.
Maybe that guy too.
Oh, is that you?
That's my more attractive twin right there.
You have quite a story to tell.
Yeah.
You are a descendant.
Absolutely.
Of a freedom fighter.
Absolutely.
Talk to me.
Josiah Henson, are you familiar with the book Uncle Tom's Cabin?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well Harriet Beecher Stowe that wrote the book, she used my great-great-great-grandfather Josiah Henson as the narrative behind Uncle Tom.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow. In this day and age, Uncle Tom has got a kind of a negative context to it, and that's couldn't be anything further from the truth.
Absolutely. He was a leader of a black militia during the rebellion of 1837. He established the Dawn Settlement, a whole community of freedom seekers who arrived on the Canadian side. He actually was instrumental in constructing the British American Institute. So he did a lot of different things that Uncle Tom wouldn't be credited with doing. He remained enslaved for 41 years of his life. He actually strived to buy his manumission papers at one point, but his enslaver actually tricked him into giving him, not allowing him to buy his actual freedom. And at one point he realized that his enslaver was having trouble managing his plantation, and he was sold down the river, literally, to his brother's plantation in Kentucky. And it was at that point that he decided at the age of 41 years old to leave enslavement, and he walked over 500 miles from Kentucky, crossed over in Fort Erie, right outside of where Buffalo is, and established himself in a small community called Little Africa at the time. The journey took over a month, and that's what some people oftentimes don't understand. It wasn't like if a person was enslaved in the South, they jumped in a Tesla and drove to freedom. So Josiah Henson, 2 of his children were so small that he had to carry him in a knapsack on his back the entire journey.
Wow.
Oftentimes you have people who were everyday people doing very notable things, and oftentimes their stories may be so enraptured with trauma that they may not share that with the next generation. So those stories are just as equally as important as stories of freedom, because it shows you the sense of resilience and the infinite potential that a person possesses to be able to overcome certain obstacles in their life. My grandmother was born in St. Catharines, which is probably about a half an hour from here. She moved over here into Niagara Falls, New York. My father was born, and I'm one of my father's children.
How does this all make you feel? I mean, think about your storied history, and then you're in a freedom gallery.
Everyday people have a story to tell, and that story is something that can be used to help empower present-day freedom seekers in terms of addressing a lot of the modern-day injustices that we still see today. When you look at the Freedom Gallery, you see people with different perspectives, people from different ethnicities, ages, genders, and they all have a story to share. The common theme is freedom.
These quotes that you see on the red arrows throughout the exhibit, these are modern quotations. So the stories that we tell are of surprising heroes on the Underground Railroad who either lived in Niagara Falls or worked in Niagara Falls, passed through Niagara Falls, crossing one more river to get to freedom in Canada.
The suspension bridge was a major player in Niagara Falls.
This is the bridge that Harriet Tubman crossed and other freedom seekers, and it was in the location where the Whirlpool Bridge is.
When you see this illustration and you just see the steps people had to take, the bridge is one thing, but scaling that gorge and getting down to the river and then making your way in a rowboat across the mighty Niagara.
You might have been running for your life because you were actually being pursued, and fly down these steps and jump into a rowboat and row yourself across. Where the Maid of the Mist is today, that's the location of where these rowboats would cross back and forth. The Cataract House and the wait staff who worked inside the Cataract House are the heroes of our stories. This was a center of Underground Railroad activity. The waiters were secret agents. The wait staff at the Cataract House Hotel was all African American, and many of them had been born into slavery but were now living and working here in freedom. And by day they were serving in the dining room, but behind the scenes they were escorting freedom seekers across the river to Canada.
We talk about freedom seekers, but this is also a celebration of the folks who helped those freedom seekers find the freedom they were seeking.
Right, and in our stories, those helpers were black men here at the Cataract House Hotel. Oftentimes we think of abolitionists as white Quakers, and that certainly is true, but here in Niagara Falls, that story was much larger.
Picking up a souvenir?
Why not? This was quite a tour, and just hearing the stories and being able to speak with a descendant of a freedom fighter, you just don't get that anywhere else.
Without a doubt. What a way to mark new starts. By the way, we want to hear your story. Send it to us at WGRZ.com. But for now, in the immortal words of Harriet Tubman,
check it out. We out. See you next time on CommUNITY.